Zaxby's Caribbean Jerk Chicken is just like a vacation in the tropics. Only without the sunburn. Or the dive-bombing seagulls. Or all of that pesky sand.
How'd it get in there?
Well, at least it tastes like the tropics. Enjoy our famous chicken tossed in a tropical blend of spicy habanero, fruity mango, and exotic island spices. The Caribbean Jerk boneless wings and the new filet sandwich meal. 2 more reasons you'll get a kick out of Zaxby's.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi. He is Corey S. Clark. We work for Warchant.com. It's the ultimate Seminole sports source. Use the promo code Warchant30 for 30 free days of access. We're brought to you by our good friends over at Zaxby's. You've already heard it. The Caribbean Jerk Filet Sandwich is out there, as well as the boneless wings. Indulge yourself. You're worth it. So are you, Corey. How are you?
Good, buddy. How are you doing? You doing all right? You hanging in there?
Yeah, man. Good. Right. A few days away from heading to New Orleans for my brother's 40th.
Okay. Where are you staying?
We did an Airbnb, which, man, Airbnbs are the Central Business District, just outside the quarter. I think Airbnb's a little overrated, man. I don't know. I'm just my buddy Joe is like, you're just too high maintenance, which is probably true. I just like fresh towels and toiletries and having my bed fixed and free breakfast, you know?
I just feel like I've never done one, but I've read so many, now, look, I have a bunch of friends that have done them and have had no problems, but you hear or you read about some of these horror stories.
Yeah.
Not even horror stories, just like, I wouldn't have paid $200 for this or whatever, $100 for this. And that's what I worry about. It can be so hit or miss, right? And there's no manager to complain to. I guess you can complain to the manager of of Airbnb, like the CEO, but I don't know how much good that's going to do you.
Well, some of these places are kind of being rented out by property managers and stuff. But the problem is just they bring in, they stage the home just like it's $1 million listing on Realtor.com or whatever. And you see all these beautiful photos, and then you walk in and it's like, yeah, this is what it looks like when it just gets, a vacuuming done to it once every month or whatever, and it's not being kept up in tippity-tip-top shape. But supposedly nice condo, penthouse. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun. It's my brother's 40th, and his buddy is telling me to coordinate a steak dinner, and I'm like, man, I'm going to Bali. Let's slow down. And he's like, I'm going to pay for it all, and I'm like, all right, fantastic.
Ooh, okay.
So every time, man. You paid for my steak in Omaha, and then my brother's buddy's going to pay for my steak in my brother's 40th birthday because I'm broke.
And I hear there are some pretty good restaurants in New Orleans. So you probably will be able to find one that's pretty darn good.
There's a couple. Probably more good restaurants in New Orleans than College Station, Texas, right?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay.
I think College Station has I think they have a Whataburger, maybe?
Okay. That's decent.
I think that's their fine dining in College Station.
Okay, that's like a 2-star compared to Zaxby's 5-star.
Exactly right.
Exactly right. So we can eliminate food options for TJ rushing, sudden departure to College Station. I guess what was your initial reaction when you did see news the other day that TJ Rushing, who was brought in to be defensive backs coach here at Florida State, took the same job over at Texas A&M earlier this week?
I mean, the only thing I thought of initially, does the T stand for traitor?
Hey-yo.
Come on, TJ. Let's go. We were buddies. We talked. He was a good dude. I shouldn't say that like he's passed. He probably still is a good dude. The only thing they could be, right, is there's more money involved.
Yeah, I would think so.
And look, I think when people hear that, they're like, man, why is Florida State so cheap? Look, right now, with the ACC network in its infancy stage, Florida State can't pay, what are they probably paying that guy? $700,000?
Oh,
I would imagine.
About A&M?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably somewhere like that.
Somewhere like that. I mean, what has he done? No offense to TJ Rushing, he doesn't deserve that yet. He might end up being a great one, but A&M's, it almost was like Jimbo's like, I'm picking that dude. How could I even anger Florida State fans more? Let me get that guy.
Stop it.
But I don't think Florida State's cheap. Like, I think when it's all said and done and the dust settles, Florida State will be very competitive, top 10, top 15 in coaches' salaries. When Jimbo left, they were 6th in the country in coaches' salaries. They have shown that they will pay coaches money. Now, they are also paying someone to not coach them, and they're paying him a lot of money. So you gotta pull some purse strings every now and again. And it's just, more than anything, it's just bad luck. But we don't know. I was very impressed with TJ Rushing. He was a really sharp guy, but who knows if how big a deal that is. And we both know who that opens the door for. I don't even know why we haven't already introduced the guy as the secondary coach.
Right. Well, Terrell Buckley also, I think, maybe a few hours earlier was officially introduced as the new defensive backs coach at Ole Miss.
Sorry, Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ole Miss. Florida State's gonna have to get one of their all-time greats to come back home. You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
What do you think about people that say, we shouldn't bring somebody back just because they were a legend? Do they? I mean, I think that's kind of like a lazy way of looking at Terrell Buckley's career. I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's not like they're hiring Dion to be the head coach. That's bringing somebody back just because they were a legend. Terrell Buckley's earned his stripes, man. He's been doing this a long time, and he's had some success at a high level. It's not like they're just like, hey, Jalen, when you're done playing with the Rams, do you want to be a coach? Like that's not this case. This guy has earned, and I have no idea if he's coming to Florida State. I think it'd be cool if he did, but either one way or the other, it's all right. I trust Norvell to hire a good guy. But no, I don't think it should. I don't think Florida State should just hire a guy because he played at Florida State and he was good at Florida State. I don't think that's it's not only not a prerequisite. I don't think it's not a requisite at all to have done that. Obviously, Jimbo had no ties to Florida State. Neither did Bobby Bowden before he became. Well, no, he did. He was an assistant for a little while, but neither one of them went to Florida State. So no, I just think the guy's paid his dues. He's had to live in Mississippi for who knows how long of his life. I mean, he grew up there and lived there. He saw the beauty of the Sunshine State,
Indeed.
Got accustomed to it, not only at Florida State, but with the Dolphins.
Uh-huh.
And now he just wants to get back home. Just wants to get back to what, to his new home in Tallahassee. So, hopefully that can happen.
Yeah. I mean, he was at Mississippi State. They're in the SEC West. They're playing Auburn and Alabama and LSU and A&M every single season. And if I'm not mistaken, they either had the number 1 or 2 pass defense in the nation back in 2018. And that's when he was coaching either safeties or cornerbacks. At least he was coaching in the secondary. And then before that, he was at Louisville and had done some good work there as well. So, again,
I know at Louisville, the year he was at Louisville, they had that kid that had like 12 interceptions. I think they led the country in interceptions. Yeah. Now, Jameis threw him 3 or 4, but it was one of those. It was one of those deals. Like his DBs had a ton of interceptions when he was at Louisville. Again, he's worked his way up, man. This isn't just some. Wouldn't it be cool if they hired T-Buck because he won the Thorpe in 1991? No, it's not. And because he essentially invented the Lambeau leap sort of at the big house in 91 on that pick 6 off Desmond Howard. No, it's not that. It's because he's obviously a pretty darn good DBs coach. And he also happens to be a legend. That should be, if there's looking for a tiebreaker, that should be the tiebreaker.
And, he kind of danced around it. But when we talked to him last year, it sounds like he's receptive to it as well. So you hope that maybe there could be something reached, or at least some dialogue open between the two parties. There is a nugget on the tribal council, which by the time you guys listen to this is probably going to be a little bit cold. So apparently one of the guys that used to coach Norvell with defensive backs and is now at an SEC school is one of the names that's kind of on the short list that's been confirmed. So. That's that.
Well, and I would say something to get this. I mean, obviously, it wasn't supposed to happen this soon, but if Norvell has a tenure like he expects, and like Florida State fans are hoping at Florida State, and is here for who knows how long, a decade, 2 decades, 4 decades, this will be happening a lot. There's going to be a lot of turnover. He's talked about wanting his coaches to be upwardly mobile, and I don't think he expected it to be 3 weeks for one guy and not even get to the spring game. But, so he's used to hiring. He's used to replacing assistant coaches, and I'm sure he has plenty of dudes on his list that are a quote-unquote backup plan.
Yeah. So, Corey, back to this whole economics being cheap or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I think, I grew up in in a middle class, maybe, somewhere between upper middle class and middle class, closer to middle class than upper middle class. Like if a steak, I'm not going to go with the whole levels of cooking a steak, but, most of my friends, I would say, by and large, with maybe the exception of like one or two, were families had were making significantly more money than my family. But we went to the same school. We ran in the same social circles. It never prevented me from doing anything. They drove nicer cars, all that kind of stuff. I didn't have a car in high school, but my parents could have given me a car. They just didn't want to because they thought it'd get me in trouble. That's a long story, but another sort of a tangent or whatever. But, so maybe I'm a little bit more, I don't know, sensitive to when we talk about people being cheap because they don't spend as much or whatever. I mean, I think being cheap is having money and not spending it. It's like Florida State. Like, listen, Florida State is not, they're not Alabama. They're not Michigan. They're not Texas. Like, they don't have this unlimited money. They don't have the endowment and all the things that come with being around for, over 100 years of being a co-educational institution of higher learning, or, just at least being like a flagship university for over 100 years. And like they've done a remarkable job despite that. And they have money and they spend it quite wisely, but just, they don't have the money to chase after everybody. I don't know if that would make them cheap. I mean, originally it sounded like Jimbo wanted to go after Corey Raymond, who is the defensive backs coach at LSU. His current contract had him at $435,000 for the upcoming season, or for this past season, rather. So he's making $435,000. They just won a national championship. Jimbo comes after him. LSU is going to be like, okay, we'll give you raise. You ain't going to Jimbo. All right, we'll give you $5.25. You go $5.25. So he's probably got like $5.25, $5.50 probably. So then Jimbo goes to option number 2, and he knows it's kind of a weird situation. A guy that just left a job to a new job, and he's option number 2. So he probably had to go in aggressive and coming pretty hot, probably around $500,000 or more, maybe $600,000. That were some of the numbers are on the internet. So the fact that like Jimbo and A&M have the money to go do that, and Florida State's like, all right, we fold. Like, you're not necessarily. I don't think that's being cheap, but it's probably frustrating nonetheless. And that's, I guess, hopefully we could draw the line between slandering our environment and being disappointed.
Well, yeah, but I don't like. I get it. I guess I get being frustrated or disappointed. But what is Florida State supposed to do? They spend a lot of money on the
match
football
the money,
program.
Corey. Match the money. Who cares? Just match it. Figure it out.
This guy, as much as I was impressed by him, he hasn't done anything at this level. He's certainly not at the Florida State. So it's not like he coached at Florida State for a year and they led the country in interceptions and had 26 and had 5 against Trevor Lawrence, and then A&M came for him in December. I could understand at that point where Florida State fans would be like, man, why can't we match it? Just match it. This guy's awesome. We need him on this staff. He has no track record here. No. But I get that it's frustrating. I get that it's frustrating that who did it. I got a not so nice text from my ex-wife about Jimbo Fisher coming in and taking TJ Rushing. She was not happy about it. She called him a name that I will not repeat. And I just texted back, ha. And then we talked about Brady learning to do push-ups. So
way to take the high road. Way to take the high road, Corey. I'm proud of you.
I do what I can. So I get the frustration, but I think more than anything, it's just like, man, it had to be that guy. Like he wasn't going to coach for Saban, or Dabo, or whoever, Ryan Day. He went and coached for. He's going to Texas A&M to coach for Jimbo Fisher. Come on, Jimbo. All the DB coaches out there, you got to go handpick the one that's been in Tallahassee. Hey, why not Charles Kelly, Jimbo? Why not him, man? I bet he'd come coach for you again. Let him be your DB's coach. What's the matter?
What would be the cheap move, Corey? The cheap move would be to bring Harlan Barnett back and just let him be your DB's coach. Like, that would be the cheap move. You're paying for him already.
Sure. Sure. I guess that would be the cheap move. I don't know that he would do that because he gets that money either way. I don't know if he wants to work on a staff where he's demoted. By the way, though, James Coley's going to have to do that at Georgia. So there is a precedent there.
Man, not a good week for Jim Coley. Yeah, they brought in like 2 guys, I feel like, on the offensive side of the ball to help out.
Well, they brought in the Browns, like Todd Monken, right? Was like the OC for the Browns. I think
he's good. He's good. He was.
He is, and he was at Tampa, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah, no, Georgia needed that. It was ridiculous. It angers me that it really does. It angers me. And I have nothing against James Coley as a person. This is just as a Georgia alum that you had this window where you had Justin Fields on your roster and you had all this talent and you were so close maybe to playing for a national championship multiple years. You had the talent to do so, and you hamstrung yourself on offense with a guy that quite frankly, I don't think was up to the job, and cost you Justin Fields. And then, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what the deal was with there, but I think if maybe Todd Monken had been the coordinator at Georgia, maybe Justin Fields is still at Georgia. But now Fields nor Fromm is there. So, but the Wake Forest kid is.
Yeah, Jamie Newman. Now, that would have been nice. That would have been a nice get to have. I will say about Monken, though, like Todd Monken is like pure alpha. I do wonder how him and Kirby will coexist. I mean, I think I know the defense is his thing, and he probably is somewhat hands-off on offense, but there's obviously going to be times where he's going to want certain things done. I do wonder how that'll mesh.
I mean, if Kirby's smart, he'll just stay the F out of the way.
Yeah.
And say, hey, man, you're doing that. I'll take care of the defense. Now, obviously, he's the head coach, so he has final say. But if the guy wants to throw it 45 times, let him. If he wants to go fast, let him. Like, you anyway, we're not, hey, this isn't Bulldog. This didn't wake up Bulldogs.
Did Fromm declare? Fromm declared, right? He's leaving. He left.
Yeah,
right?
He's gone. So I thought the only thing that was going to make the Fields transfer somewhat tolerable, stomachable, was that you're going to get you got 2 years out of Fromm, was the hope. Yeah. But no, you just got 1 year out of him anyway. Yeah. So you traded 2 years basically you traded the last 2 years, last year and then this year coming up of Justin Fields. You traded that for 1 year Jacob Fromm.
See, it could always be worse, everybody. It could always be worse.
That's right.
Well, I guess it did get a little bit worse for Florida State fans after the TJ rushing news that De'Aaron King, the Dynamo quarterback out of Houston, announced that he was going to transfer to Miami after it was reported that he was, and then supposedly wasn't. Now he has gone ahead and said he will go to Miami. And then on top of that, they added a pass rusher from Temple. I think Quincy Roche is his name.
Yeah, he's good too.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to love the way fans kind of equivocate stuff. But I guess like if you wipe out 2 games, he only had 3 sacks or something. So I guess he got 6 sacks in 2 of the games. And if you take away the USF game and another game, he only really had 3.5 sacks, so relax. But, the Miami defense is pretty legitimate for all the problems they've had there. And that Rousseau kid ain't going anywhere. And then they kind of have this guy on the other side. And it kind of is compounded. Like, I'd be more frustrated about that than the TJ rushing thing. But I feel like with the Jimbo variable, that's kind of blown it off the map. I don't think people are as concerned about Miami getting stronger as they are TJ rushing leaving. But, man, that's those are 2 guys. Well, Jamie Newman would have been – I'd rather have him over De'Aaron King if that might be crazy. But, man, Florida State needs a pass rusher, and I don't know where the previous relationships are established. Maybe in that 36 hours that Manny Diaz was head coach at Temple, he was able to woo that kid to come back down. But, golly, you would have liked to hope that Florida State could have got somebody as dynamic. But where do you change at all your thoughts on Miami after they've added 2 guys like that?
I mean, I want to see what he looks like in that offense. In this league, but no, man, Miami should be better. Their quarterback play was average at best, probably worse than that.
Yeah.
The kid was good against Florida State, but he had all day to throw. So yeah, man, Miami's, I don't know what his WAR is. I don't know what De'Aaron King's WAR is, but it's something. It's above 0. So Miami for 2020 is in much better shape than they would have been, in my opinion, with that kid. I mean, that kid's a really dynamic player. Now, can he go through this is going to sound like I'm making a joke and being sarcastic. I'm not. Can he go through the rigors of the ACC and stay healthy? That's something we don't know. But if he's going to be running 18 times a game, Miami's never had a guy like that, right? Have they ever really had like a mobile quarterback?
Kenny Kelly. I don't know. Did he really play for them? Though?
Back in the you talking about in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of one. I think he was a baseball player too, Kenny Kelly.
Yeah, he was.
Um,
Tampa Catholic.
maybe
what?
the kid that kind of Ryan Collins with he kind of interchanged with Frank Costa.
Okay.
When they started going downhill.
I like that you raised me. You raised me one.
I raised your Kenny Kelly with Ryan Collins, and I'm not even sure if that's his name. But yeah, like either I just don't remember them having like this kind of dynamic guy. I don't remember if Kirby Freeman ran. He might have. I know Jacory didn't. But anyway, yeah, no. I what's weird when you think about it, when you just think about them getting two such big time transfers. I mean, one kid was like an All-American candidate, another kid was an All-Conference guy. When does Florida State get those guys? And now Florida State did get a transfer from Louisville, who's a D end, right?
Yeah, I think he's more edge-setting kind of guy. I mean, I think he's 280, 290.
He wasn't proven. And I'm sure there is plenty, and I just can't off the top of my head think of them. But when has Florida State ever gotten a proven transfer?
Everett Golson, really. I mean,
and he was Everett Golson.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that might be the only one that I can think of in recent years. And meanwhile, Miami's got these two guys coming in. Florida, their best defensive player last year was the kid from Louisville, right?
Yeah, Grenard.
He was awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, when is that? Now that the portal is just wide open and everybody can, fling around in it all they want. When is the portal going to open up and just a bucket of gold, a treasure chest of gold in Tallahassee? Because it feels like they get hurt by the portal more than they live by it. And, it's obviously not Mike Norvell's fault. He's been here for 2 months. But it just seems odd that in the last 8 to 10 years, as transfers have become a little bit more common, that you see all these other schools getting these types of players. And Florida State is a very, that's a destination. It's a destination school for kids. Doesn't seem to be getting those kind of guys. Why is that? You got any explanation, Aslan?
I don't know. It's Jimbo's fault, probably. Jimbo Price wasn't very aggressive on it.
For all we know, Jimbo might have told them all not to come.
Yeah, I'd be beat it. I don't know.
Deshaun probably wanted to come and play in 2016, and Jimbo's like, no. No, I got this Malik Henry kid.
I'm trying to think, like Kevin Hapley, like that tight end from Penn State was one of the guys.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You see the names you're throwing out there?
Yeah, I do. Things I should have mentioned at the top of the show, the ACC is going to be dropping the schedule at 9 o'clock in the morning, so probably 80% of you that listen to this, it's already released, and you're like, why aren't you talking about the schedule? Well, because we don't exactly know the schedule, but it'll be part of the Thursday show.
Yeah, they're going to play Clemson.
They're going to play Florida. They're going to play Miami.
Yep.
Then Louisville and Syracuse and Boston College. Also want to send a shout-out to a couple guys. David, who spoke to me in the gym locker room, and he admitted the awkwardness of the situation, but has apparently been a subscriber for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So shout out to him.
OG.
Yeah, and then when I was out having cocktails with a buddy last week, I was supposed to do this on the Monday show, and I forgot to, but shout out to Tom. Apparently Tom's a big fan of the program. He just got married this past weekend. His buddy Cody was like, can you give him a shout out on the show next week? And tried to do it on Monday, but I forgot. But congrats, Tom. Way to do it. You're a step ahead of the game.
Good job, Tom. Hey, I meant to mention this too. At halftime of the Virginia game, I was walking in the bowels of the arena to the restroom, and there were two guys standing there. One guy had his phone out, and the other guy that didn't have his phone out was like, "Hey, there's a Warchant guy right there. That's my guy." I don't think he knew my name, but he knew I wrote for Warchant. And he's like, and he shook my hand. I'm like, "Hey, I'm Corey." And he goes, "Hey, I don't remember the name. I'm going to say Sean."
Okay.
And he goes, "Hey, I'm Sean." And then the guy next to him's like, "Look, man, I was just telling him about your podcast." And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he goes, "No, look at my phone." And he literally was on the Wake Up Warchant iTunes podcast, showing him, telling him about the podcast and that he should listen to it every day.
All right. I'm always worried when you say that it's going to be Seminole headlines or something. It's going to be like,
no. This was actually Wake Up. I even said, I'm like, you mean headlines, right? And he said, no. He said, no, Wake Up Warchant.
Way to go, Corey. Way to go. All right, back to some more football stuff on the brighter side of things. And, maybe it's not the sort of flash that a De'Aaron King would be, or a guy that's got over 10 sacks. But Florida State is involved with another grad transfer. And this was on the offensive line, and he does play left tackle. Devin Cochran from Vanderbilt is, I think, had a visit last night. I don't know if Norvell was there. Their full breakdown if it's on the board. Or the premium recruiting board, rather. I think I broke out there or cut out there for a second. Sorry, Corey. But, again, maybe not a sexy sort of thing. Not a guy that, was thrown and ran for 50 touchdowns combined in a season and broken Tim Tebow's records. And, again, some sack master kind of guy. But, I mean, if you do start thinking about this team and what's been holding them back to a large degree, and they've already got the right tackle situation maybe figured out somewhat with Deontay Taylor from FIU. If they're able to get a kid to come in and play left tackle, at least to push the existing guys. I mean, if you got 2 new tackles and then we feel good about Dante Lucas coming back from, hopefully he'll bounce back from his injury. That's one of the questions on the Tribal Council. I mean, I don't know exactly, James Black, we don't know where he's at or what a true freshman is going to look like. But, man, if you talked about Florida State adding 2, new offensive tackles, one from an SEC program and then another one who was all conference, although it was Conference USA, but still, I mean, those are the kind of things that you should maybe be focused about rather than the well, look what they got and look who we just lost. I think maybe those are, we're maybe losing track of how big of a boost that could be.
Well, yeah, no, for sure, man. Obviously, everyone that follows Florida State football, so therefore anybody that listens to this show knows what the weakest part of the program is by far. And if you can just, obviously you don't figure that if you're adding grad transfers on the offensive line, no matter what school they're coming from, on the offensive line in particular, that you're adding like stars. Stars, you can't be a star on the offensive line, but maybe a first or second day pick in the NFL. You're not adding one of those. But are you adding capability? Are you adding competence? Are you adding guys that can be serviceable, solid? That's what you need. You need a lot of those dudes. You need guys that give you a chance if somebody else gets hurt.
Get a Landon Dickerson, right? Get a Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all watched Landon Dickerson for 3 years. He was a nice player. He wasn't incredible, but he was a nice player when he was healthy. Get somebody like that. You just need that. You need depth, and you need experience, and you need strength. All that stuff that's been lacking here forever. And so if you're getting guys from these schools that have played a lot of college football, that can't be a bad thing. So absolutely, that's a good deal. And, we talked about, in the last show about how goofy it was that the Clemson kid went back. Well, Florida State did have Marvin and Tamarian come back. So there are some good things happening to the program. And I think we all think that this coaching staff is very good or could be very good, even with the loss of a secondary coach. So, all in all, compared to what we thought about the feeling around this program, say 2.5, 3 months ago, I think it's in a much better place. You just wish Derek King could have gone to Oregon State.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Hey, we probably should talk about basketball here in a minute. Ranked in the top 5, first time in God knows how long. Were you alive when they were in the top 5, Corey?
Come on, man. No, that was 3 years before I was born.
Okay. 2.5
years before I was born, I guess.
I heard Ryan Russillo say something on his podcast the other day that I should have paid better attention to because I could have used it to zing you. But it was something about how he realized like his birthday is closer to the start of like World War II than it is like further away from it or something. I don't know. It's basically showing that it's telling himself that he's old, but he's like in his early 40s, and like you are too. But
right,
bad executed.
Well, yeah, my birthday
segment.
is definitely closer to World War II than it is to me now.
Yeah, so
maybe World War I. Okay. That's when you're getting old, is when your birthday is closer to World War I.
Have you
than
seen?
You are now.
Did you go see 1917?
I have not. That's on the agenda, but I haven't seen it yet. Have you?
No, I do want to go see it though. But I want to take maybe like 2 questions from the Randy Express, and then we can talk about basketball as we rendezvous out of here. A lot of the questions obviously are about kind of TJ rushing, why did he leave, and the angst kind of around that. This one comes from one of Florida State's biggest fans. His name is FSU's biggest fan. What's up, Corey and Aslan?
Not one of. Yeah. It is the biggest. The mystery's solved.
And he's been around since March 12th, 2007 in Oneida, Tennessee. So
he joined after the 2006 season.
Yeah.
Oh, because he was excited because they had just hired this up-and-comer offensive coordinator.
That's right.
Yep.
All right, he says what's up to us, wants to thank us for being awesome and doing the best podcast in all the land. It's probably a little much, but I do appreciate it.
That's not a little much. That's right on point.
Have you listened to Joe Rogan's podcast? It is awesome.
No.
I'm kidding. All right, the question. With Rushing leaving so early, is it still true to call FSU a premier coaching job? Or does Norvell need to have 1 or 2 successful seasons to return to that level? See, I think it's nuanced. It's gray. I mean, right now, Florida State is not Alabama, not Clemson, not Ohio State, not Oklahoma. I mean, I think those places can snap their finger and anyone will leave to probably take a job there. Florida State's not at that level. And we've never really seen Florida State at that level either, right? I mean, Bobby had so much stability amidst the dynasty. Jimbo kind of kept the guys he had. And obviously, with what Willie inherited and spun, there was nothing really premier about it there. So I don't think this is like a bad thing. I don't think this means like the brand is tarnished forever or anything, but I think you kind of have to sometimes take some assessment and audit things. And Florida State right now is not, I mean, it's not a good enough, it's not good enough to prevent a guy from taking $200,000. What that becomes like a 50% pay increase. That's a big pay increase, but it's not good enough to make a guy, say, nah, I'll pass on. Going to a place like A&M, which, I mean, come on. They won 7 games this past season. So you kind of got to know where you fall into the landscape, and I don't think that's like talking yourself down. It's just kind of being honest with yourself.
I think with a lot of assistant coaches, number one, Norvell hasn't proven anything at this level. It's not like he's a kingmaker quite yet. You know what I mean? Say he's here for the next 5 years and 2 of his coaches go on to be head coaches and they win some championships, whether ACC or national or state or whatever. Then he becomes a kingmaker where maybe Florida State is a little more appealing, where they don't have to pay more than Texas A&M to keep a guy or more than LSU to keep a guy. They might have to pay the same, but you know what I mean? Everything being even or close to even. Well, I'm going to go coach at Florida State because that's the best thing for my career. I don't know. We can't say that that's the case right now because we've all watched the last 3 years. We know what's happened. And when it comes to assistant coaches, we've watched the last 5 or 6 years. This has not been a cradle. The assistant coaching room at Florida State has not been a cradle of head coaches here recently, except for the great Walt Bell. Yeah. So, that's the tricky part. We don't typically, traditionally, historically, Florida State has been a great place if you wanted to be known, if you wanted to get promoted, if you wanted to get more money somewhere else. I think it's been a good place to go as an assistant coach, but it's not there now. It's just not. It can be, but we'll see what Norvell has. I don't think, nobody's going to leave a place like an LSU or even like throw out Oregon to come coach for as much money at Florida State. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to pay them more right now. You're not as proven a commodity with this new coaching staff. Did that answer that? I don't even know if I answered that question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we also asked, I think the second part of it says Norvell need to have 1 or 2 successful seasons to return to that level. Yeah. I mean,
sure.
Be the kingmaker at this level. Make this defense go from whatever they were to 37th in the nation, then Adam Fuller starts getting, head coaching job offers or something like that. When you string together 1 or 2 successful seasons, maybe knock down Clemson 1 year, beat a top 10 Florida team. Those sort of things you accomplish, and then you start getting talked about more on game day, and you're not the throwaway 4-second pick game that's sandwiched between Northwestern Indiana and Arkansas, Mississippi State. So, this program needs to start winning again to bring everything back to the way that we're accustomed to.
But I also think even when Jimbo was Jimbo, he wasn't going and rating the big-time programs of the world for their DBs coach. No. If he wanted a defensive coordinator, he got Alabama's DBs coach. If he wanted to, you know what I mean? Like that was as much as he rated a big-time program, is he went and got Jeremy Pruitt from Alabama, but he gave him a promotion and more money. If Jeremy Pruitt had been the DC at Alabama, there's no way he's coming to Florida State. That's a lateral move. I think what you hope Norvell can do and will do is identify really good young talent. Not done. I guess it doesn't have to be young, but talent at like the mid-major type schools. I know mid-major is more of a basketball term, but you know what I mean.
Group of five
or lower tier Power 5 schools. Yeah. Like you're just not going to go get Georgia's linebackers coach or Georgia's O-line coach. You're just not. It's not. That's very rare. The reason he got Auburn's OC is because he basically that's his protege. He groomed that kid since he was a sophomore in college. So that's how he got Auburn's OC. But otherwise, he's going to have to mix and match from other smaller schools, in my opinion. But he apparently has a really good eye for talent, man, because heavens to Betsy, every guy he hires goes and gets a better job. Yeah. I shouldn't say, I don't mean Texas A&M's a better job, but goes and gets more money. That guy got the Norvell boost, and I think he was still living in a hotel in Tallahassee. He never even rented a house in Florida State, and he got the Norvell boost. It got an extra couple $100,000 just for associate with Norvell for a couple weeks.
And in all honesty, too, though, this is probably the best case scenario in terms of Florida State is pretty all right at defensive back when it comes to recruiting. So it's not like this is in terms of the timing and such is obviously not the best. But if you're going to leave, you left after the early signing period, but he wasn't even on board for that. But it's not like they've got these recruits that they really are, high on that TJ Rushing is kind of leading the point on. I think there was one defensive back that was on campus this past weekend, Donovan Kaufman. And again, he, I don't know how much he even interacted with TJ Rushing to make it think or to make it be one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I have a great relationship with him. That's why I'm going to come to Tallahassee. And he's a defensive backs coach. And it sounds like there's somebody kind of already in the works that Mike Norvell has familiarity with. But it did seem like a guy that was on the rise. Just hope you would have had a few, maybe, like you said, maybe at least get to the spring game out of him. But I don't know, does any certain concern come back to you? Because we have mentioned that, outside of the offensive line, like the defensive coordinator hire was going to be a really big deal. Adam Fuller's resume, maybe not as impressive as one would have hoped for. But to lose like your number one defensive backs coach, does that give you any more pause in terms of like how capable this defense can be in terms of making a turnaround if, with Adam Fuller leading the charge, or is that really, it's his defense is his defense? Yeah, no, it doesn't really impact my thoughts on the defense moving forward. Anyway, again, he was just an impressive guy to talk to. I thought it was cool that he played with Peyton Manning and won a Super Bowl, but we have no idea who he's going to hire for sure officially, and that guy might end up being great. There's just no way to know. So no, it doesn't really impact. It doesn't really impact how I feel about the defense moving forward. It's just a bit of a bummer, but it's a DB's coach. Well, no, let's not totally denigrate the fact that the defensive backs here have been kind of substandard in their performance the last few years. Probably would. Well, that's a good point. Sure, I just meant like more along the lines of we have no idea of how good he was. Okay. What I mean? Not at this level. We just don't. So, I don't have that big opinion of it other than where he went and when it happened. Those were the two noteworthy things to me. But I'm not trying to dismiss it like it's not a big deal. It is a bummer. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, that the second choice was really his first choice anyway. No, man, the guy he wanted left. So that's not great. But what's the difference between Rushing and the guy he's going to replace him with? What's that war? What's that separation of wins above replacement? I have no idea of knowing. None. He might have a phenom on his hands with his next hire. How serious? Especially with T-Buck. How serious would you take a vote if you were part of the Baseball Writers Association? In the Hall of Fame? Yeah. I mean, I would take it seriously. It's a Hall of Fame. It's kind of a big deal. Well, because Dan Lebitard kind of like bastardized it and gave his vote away, or they took it away from him because he kept making fun of it. And then I saw right. No, he let the Deadspin voters vote on it. Oh yeah. He had 10. I think they had a poll, and the people that finished in the top 10 on that poll, that's who he used as his. That's who he voted for. I'd probably take it a little more seriously than that, but heck, I mean, they probably had. I don't know what his ballot was, but I'm sure it was fine. Would you have voted Jeter? Where were you been the guy that abstained?
Yeah. Yeah, no. Is that what happened? A guy abstained?
Well, no, he got everything. I think he got like 99.7 or something, or 99.
Yeah, he got every vote. He got every vote but one. Which is fine. Who cares? Again, like Hank Aaron and Willie Mays weren't unanimous selections. There were 11 people that didn't vote for Babe Ruth. I mean, what? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I haven't seen any tape on him. I don't know. I could live with that.
What, on Babe Ruth?
Yeah. Come on.
I mean, I think Jeter, not that anybody cares about my opinion. Obviously, Jeter is a little, his historic value is a little bit inflated because of where he played, and he was on some great teams. But yeah, man, he was a great player. He was a Hall of Famer. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not the best player that ever lived. He's not the best Yankee that ever lived, but he's a great player.
Like Larry Walker? Like Larry Walker's a Hall of Famer. Like Hall of Fame.
Yeah, what bothers me about that is that it's just
Harold Baines. Didn't Harold Baines make the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he made it from the Veterans Committee.
What are they doing?
Well, Harold was a good hitter, but what I don't understand is how you have somebody like Harold Baines, and I'm a Braves fan, but then you don't have Andrew Jones, you don't have Fred McGriff,
Dale Murphy. You gonna go ahead? You want to go?
But the other two, Murphy at least makes a little more sense. His career greatness was a little cut short. He was great for probably 7 or 8 years. Andrew Jones was like the best center fielder that ever lived and hit 450 home runs. And then Fred McGriff hit 494 and was a great hitter. Not a good hitter, a great hitter for multiple teams and was great in the postseason. And it's just, I guarantee if he'd have been a part of those Yankees teams, he'd have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, but because he was playing with the Braves, hey, whatever. He might get in 20 years later after he's dead.
All right, let's get back on track. Maxwell Gibbs.
Sorry.
Maxwell Gibbs. No, it was my fault. I pushed us there. Maxwell Gibbs will get us back on track, and then we'll wrap it up here. Wake up, Corey. What's up, Aslan? PSA to everyone on the tribal council, stop freaking out over Coral Gables College getting a couple grad transfers. It's not going to help them at all, just like their so-called high-profile transfers did a year ago. And we all forget about Tate Martell. Look what happened to him.
Yeah, but I would say Tate Martell never played a game at quarterback, right? This guy is a proven commodity. He's good. It's a little bit different.
It's a problem. Yeah.
Not
Not a Maryland problem, a real problem.
Right, a legitimate problem. Sure.
Manny Diaz is still the head coach and is clearly Willie 2.0 with all his desperation moves after his one season in Coral Gables. Now, let's talk round ball, gents. I get it that Leonard is strict to his 2 foul in the first half rule, but if a trip to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, or Final Four is on the line and Vassell, Trent, or MJ pick up that second foul early on, will he go finally against his own rule and let them play, or even putting them back in after a couple minutes on the bench? My friends and I already are in agreement that if this team makes it to the Final Four, then we are Atlanta bound to see Corey.
Oh, that'd be sweet, yeah. That's a really good question because he's basically, that's how he's always coached, is if you get 2 fouls, you're sitting. But man, and I cannot pinpoint it. I do think there have been moments, whether in big games or tournament games, where one of his key players has gotten 2 fouls and he's gone back to him in the first half. Like, I do think very, very rarely he goes against that edict and will actually do it because, yeah, Maxwell's right, man. Like, if you're playing, say, I don't know, Michigan in the Sweet 16 and Vassell picks up 2 fouls in the first minute like you did against Pitt, you can't go 19 minutes of the biggest game of the season without your best player on the court and just try to survive. I get that you're trying to survive and you're trying to get to halftime, and then you got 20 minutes of Vassell in the second half. But, man, what if you're down 8 at halftime? Or what if the other team doesn't play well, but you're only up 2 at halftime when you could have been up 12? And I think, obviously, Maxwell's alluding to MJ Walker being taken out of the game early on against Miami and not playing like the last 17 and a half minutes. And, Wyatt Wilkes playing because Raekwon Gray and Patrick Williams had 2 fouls. I don't think he'll be that strict when it comes to the that time of the season. You just can't. You can't in the last game of the season you just got to trust a Trent Forrest or Devin Vassell to play with 2 fouls. Now you take them out at times, but you try to find moments where they're not on the court, obviously. But yeah, I think he will. I think he will adjust. I wish I could think of the example, but I feel like there is at least 1 or 2 of him staying with a guy, even with even with 4 fouls midway through the second half, or even with 2 fouls in the first half? That's a good question, because there's a chance it might come to that.
Yeah. See, I do wonder, I think he talked to, I think he mentioned to Ira, just like in conversation. And I think it's now people like nationally are kind of talking about it that, he felt really good about the team last year. And you've talked about it. They just felt like they, whatever the basketball gods just, spited them last year with David Nichols getting hurt, and then obviously the grief that Phil and his family had to deal with so late in the game. That like they felt like they really had a chance last season if everything would have broke their way. That was like a national championship caliber team they had last season. Like you're 71, you have this team coming together. Jay Billis the other night on SportsCenter says that he thinks Devin Vassell is a star in the making and he's a first-round NBA pick. I would think that there has to be a little bit of kind of thought into your own coaching mortality and the team that you have and where you are that he would kind of go against that. Because to your point, I don't think it's a hard and fast rule for him that's like absolutely no way. There is a bit of nuance to it, and I would imagine that if he's in that situation on the second weekend in March or even the first weekend and things just aren't, they got a really tough matchup, I think he would maybe go against the conventional wisdom that he's shown over the years, and I think he would leave a guy out. I really do think he would leave a guy in the game. Yeah. And
it's a little different because they play so many guys, but there are a couple that are just, I think MJ Walker, you can,
I think you can sit him. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Trent,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
He's not interchangeable with Anthony Polite. He's a better offensive player, but it's not a huge gap between him and Anthony Polite. And Anthony Polite is a defensive devil, man. That guy is really good defensively.
Similar so you're not losing
a ton. Yeah, exactly. So the gap between him and Walker isn't all that big. The gap between Raekwon Evans and Trent Forrest, well, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And the gap between Devin Vassell and anyone is a big one. So those are the ones where you got to be like, all right, I know that Trent Forrest has 2 fouls with 13 and a half minutes to go in the first half, or 18 minutes, whatever. But we can't go this huge important game with him on the bench for that whole time. And I don't think you will. But hey, man, it's really cool that they're 5th in the country. I actually had some of my buddies up here in Atlanta were asking me about, just out of the blue, I think this is kind of what happens when you get to this level. Florida State's made the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16 in back-to-back years, but then one of my buddies was like, man, when did Florida State get this good at basketball? When he saw that they were top 5.
Yeah.
It's just different when you're in the top 5. And I did say, well, man, they've been good for a while now, but yeah, they haven't been in the top 5 since December of 72. And yes, that was before I was born. Leonard Hamilton was 24 years old.
Do you know that
Leonard Hamilton was 24 years old the last time Florida State was ranked in the top 5? That's some craziness.
According
that team finished 18-8. Because that was the team. It was actually the 72-73 team, so it was a year after they finished second, or they lost the national championship game to UCLA, and they started out the season number 2 in the country, and I think won their first 5 games, and then went like 13-8 the rest of the way. I don't know anything about that team. Maybe there were some injuries or something, but yeah, probably a pretty disappointing season there for Hugh Durham.
Yeah. What's great? So Baylor's number 1. Like San Diego State is in the top 5 too. I think. Like it's just it's a topsy-turvy year, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. Butler was there, but yeah, San Diego State's 4, Baylor's 1, Gonzaga's 2. Now, I know Gonzaga's like a blue blood now, but it is. It's still I think it's a private school in Spokane, Washington. It's not like the Kansases, the Dukes, and the North. By the way, did you see that fight in the Kansas game?
Yeah, let's get some. I'm all here for Bill Self turning full heel and just going out with the middle finger before the shoe drops on him.
They're going to I think they'll kick that kid off the team, honestly. You not only was it crazy what he did at the end of the game to swat the kid and then walk over him, basically, but then he picked up a chair in the fight.
Did he? I haven't seen all the angles. I did.
He's an assistant coach or somebody, an adult, comes up and grabs him, but he's picked up a chair and it's over his head and he's about to come down with it, and somebody grabs him.
It's Myles Garrett just
Man, so yeah,
educator,
he'll probably be gone. But yeah, otherwise it's just really cool, and I'm actually really looking forward to Saturday night. I just want to see what the environment's like, man. Florida State is great at home. They've been incredible at home. Well, it can be really loud in there, but it's not typically a raucous, loud, unbelievable atmosphere unless it's like Duke or the defending national champions are playing there. Mm-hmm. Like Virginia was great, but otherwise it can be a pretty pedestrian type crowd unless it's until the tense moments. I feel like it's just going to be energetic from start to finish, or at least at the start of the game. We don't know how it'll go, but holy moly, it should just be electric just because it's the first time they've ever played in that gym as a top 5 team. They were playing back in Tully the last time that they were a top 5 team. So all of that, man, it's a really cool thing. They're playing Notre Dame, who isn't a pushover by any means. They're not great, but they're not a pushover. And it's a Saturday night.
It's a blackout.
You can get a little loosey-goosey, little Cat 5, get a little loosey-goosey before the game, go to the game, be wild and crazy, and go out and enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. It's just it's a blackout, yeah, like you said. They got the Amsterdam shirts. It's kind of cool for Leonard to get a moment like this because he's built this thing up, man, for almost 2 decades. And there have been a lot of peaks and a lot of valleys. Well, right now they're at a peak. And to be top 5 and to have a game at home where your home fans and your students who sold that thing out in like 35 seconds can come and appreciate what you've done. It's really cool, man. I'm really happy for him and his program and his staff.
Do you know, according to Wikipedia, his first name is James Leonard Hamilton? Imagine it was just Jim Hamilton.
I didn't know that.
That's what it says on Wikipedia. I'll have to ask him next time we talk to him. But yeah, just imagine it was Jim Hamilton.
Jim Hamilton? Yeah. No, he's a Leonard, man. He looks like a Leonard. He feels like a Leonard.
Yeah.
Lenny. Call him Lenny, I guess.
Leo.
But yeah, so that's I did not know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good trivia, man. A little Aflac trivia for everyone.
There you go, Quack. All right, we're done. Again, the schedule is dropping at 9. I think myself and Ira are going to have an instant reaction thing. Maybe even you, Corey, if you want to wake up and bump your gums a little bit, talk about the schedule for the football team. So that's dropping at 9 a.m.
We'll see what happens. I'm sure I'll write something on it.
Okay. And
I don't like people to see me in the morning, though. If you're talking about some sort of video, I don't like people to see me in the morning, obviously.
We can use a phoner. If you want. We can just get a headshot of you. Get that headshot of you from the 2012 preview magazine.
There you go. That'd be perfect.
Otherwise, all right, post your questions on the Tribal Council. We'll get to most of them tomorrow on another edition of Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Aslan. He's Corey.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.